Hey guys, I got another great training for you. Today I'm going to talk with you about customer lifecycle automation and how it applies to the workflow and or customer lifecycle across your communication platform, your marketing software, and your project management software. And I'll show you how we tie it all together on the back end and what we've learned over the last 10 years in regards to organizing our projects so that we can execute better than the competition. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jesse. I'm the lead designer at Razor Sharp Networks. For the past 10 plus years, we've been helping our clients optimize their online environment and automate their customer lifecycle. If that sounds like something that interests you, go ahead and jump over to our YouTube channel, subscribe, set up notifications so you don't miss future trainings on how to optimize your website, e-commerce, and or membership sites, and automate your lead gen, customer acquisition, and customer retention processes and programs. So today I'm going to talk with you about customer lifecycle automation. And for those of you that have seen some of our past training, customer lifecycle automation talks about removing the constraints associated with your business and really automating some of the most important processes within your organization when it comes to lead generation, customer acquisition, and customer retention. Now, we utilize this framework not only in order to help organize our efforts when it comes to, really going out there and building a successful business online, but we also utilize it in order to organize our projects on the back end so that we can execute and make sense of kind of the big mess, which is, sales and marketing and really execution in regards to project management and things of that nature. So I'm going to jump over to my desktop and talk with you a little bit about the customer lifecycle automation process as it applies to our project management software. Now, there's a lot of different project management softwares out there, and the one that we utilize is Asana. This doesn't only apply to Asana. I think that if you take a look at your project management software and kind of the parent-child relationships all the way through your workflow, you'll be able to create and or utilize this training in order to create a process that's going to give you the ability to kind of really make sense of the organization process. So the way that we organize it is we have what's called portfolios, and those portfolios have multiple projects associated with those. So the portfolio will be our customer, and then within that portfolio, we'll have different projects. As you can see here, we have development projects. We have the optimization of their online assets and things of that nature. We'll have marketing projects, and then these ones here, the lead generation, customer acquisition, these are ones that are just notes. Generally, we'll have development, optimization, and marketing. So that's kind of the workflow from a project management standpoint. And then within each project, we'll have these categories. And from a development standpoint, we'll have some reoccurring project tasks like site maintenance and things of that nature that can fall within development. If a customer does set up an optimization and we're doing performance search and security optimization for their website, we'll move that to another project because SEO or search engine optimization on its own is a very large project when you're talking about, optimizing the web environment for site health, also setting up website for search visibility with all the structured data and everything like that. And then the reoccurring tasks associated with building links, creating content, doing research around gaps in the marketplace when it comes to search terms, and also in regards to backlinks, optimization, and opportunities in the marketplace in regards to that as well. But from a design standpoint and development, we'll talk about design, pages, page assets, creative, whether they're image assets and or video, integration when it comes to some of the back-end software and tools that we utilize, and then optimization. Again, what we'll do with the optimization, we'll move it onto a new project if a customer subscribes to our SEO optimization service. In addition to that, if we go back into marketing projects, these ones directly correlate with customer lifecycle automation. And this is what I wanted to share with you today, and the power of the Customer Lifecycle Automation Framework and how you can utilize it in order to organize your efforts. So within lead generation, we would have projects inside of lead generation, and then inside of each one of those projects, we have sub-projects that are associated with it that can become dependencies on completing the project. So initially what we'll do is we'll say, hey, we're going to put together a lead generation campaign for this customer. So we create a marketing project for them. Then within that, we'll create a category that's lead generation. Now within that, we'll create the actual project task and assign subcategories to that. The initial one is building out the projects. That's the initial sub-project task, right? The first one on all of our projects should be building out our project. And then what we do is we begin to assign all the sub-project tasks to the individual assets on our team in regards to creative design, integration, development, and things of that nature, deployment, and all those different stages. So the second to last will be a review from our project managers. So we have 2 project managers on the team. They go through and help us manage Asana on a regular basis. And what that'll do is they take a look at the project, make sure the integration's set up, the automation. They'll go through and do an initial check of all of the copy and content, and then take a look at it from a marketing standpoint so that we can optimize for conversions. Once they've done the initial review, they'll kick it back over to a project lead like myself. And what I will do is I'll go in and do a final approval of the entire project itself. If it's approved, we'll close that out, send it to the customer, and we will have completed the project from a lead generation standpoint. Now, once that project gets completed from lead generation, the natural evolution of that project is to move them into customer acquisition. That would be tools and resources that we're utilizing to engage, offer, and close those leads that have been brought into our ecosystem. So that is the natural evolution. So every closed out lead creates a follow-up task that is going to be associated with the customer acquisition group. And then once we move them through the customer acquisition process, we would move them into the customer retention, or what we, for a lot of our new customers, the customer re-engagement process, where we're selling for reviews, referrals, and repeat business. So it's a natural evolution from the initial contact at the top of the funnel all the way through the acquisition process and then into the post-acquisition process, which would be to sell for reviews, referrals, and repeat business. We have a couple of different funnels that we implement to get reviews. We have funnels that we implement in order to enroll people in partner programs so that you can create affiliate networks and people can you can leverage those relationships in order to sell more people your products and services. Those customers are your best and best contacts. So you want to make sure that you nurture them in the post-sale process as much as you possibly can. It's said that most people switch service providers not because a lack of confidence in the service provider and or poor service. It's a lack of contact and relationship. So that post-sale process, the customer retention and re-engagement process, is all about building relationship. It's all about selling for reviews so that you can utilize that in future sales processes. It's all about enrolling them in your partner program, affiliate programs, or making them a partner of yours or an advocate. And then it's all about maximizing that contact in regards to revenue. So repeat business is the final stage in the customer retention process. So I would assert that if you utilize the Customer Lifecycle Automation Framework in order not only to organize your front-end marketing and communication process, but also your back-end project management process, you're going to have a nice, easy to follow, simple process that you can utilize to graduate contacts all the way from the initial contact through the sales process and then inevitably into your customer retention and re-engagement campaigns so that you can build relationships, hold on to customers for longer periods of time, and really maximize their lifetime value to your organization. So that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you got a ton of value of that. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. Just meet me in the comments section and I'll get those answered for you as quickly as I can. And until the next time we speak, make today and every day a fantastic day. We'll talk with you real soon.